It's a interaction training. It's an interaction bootcamp session. You guys can unmute yourself and speak in Google Meet. Mr. Kamalkar, please speak.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Myself, Nana Teja, you can call me Teja, and I'm a working professional. So I'm looking forward to learn some new things here.
Why digital forensic bootcamp?
Sorry?
Why digital forensic bootcamp?
It's like it's my hobby, like to learning new things in cyber security.
Okay.
So, so next line, it's like learning new things.
Okay.
That's it.
Next.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bhargesh, can you please introduce yourself? Okay, we can come to Mr. Minmoy Ghosh.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So my name is Midmoy Bruce, and I am also a working professional. And I am really interested in cybersecurity and digital forensic. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
Mr. Rohan, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Rohan. I am doing my post graduation in cybersecurity,
Okay.
and I love to digital forensics. That's it.
Okay. Next.
Mr. Vikas, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm in meeting right now. I'm going to it. I'm in meeting right now.
Yeah, Bhargesh.
My name is Bhagesh S. Jirajani. I am graphic designer and I am doing cyber security. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last, we have Mr. Raza.
Myself, Mohammad Matlubia Khan, Assistant Director, Forensics and Security, Bhagalpur, Bihar. I am doing. Yes.
So you are from Bihar, Bihar FSL.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm also a forensic background student, sir, from MSc Forensic from Galgotias University.
Galgotia, that means Niharika madam?
Yes, Niharika Srivastava.
She is my senior, just senior.
Okay. She takes our forensic medicine in Galgotias.
Yeah. Yes. You may ask to him about me.
And I don't heard about you, but Bihar FSL is linked to me as because I've worked with the Delhi CBI and Calcutta CFSLs also. Okay.
Okay.
There is two intern in your FSL, that is Sumit Kumar and Abhishek is there.
Okay.
In with I forgot the name of the JSO or the or I think he's SSO also in FSL in Bihar FSL.
Name?
I'm just forgot his name. मुकेश कुछ ऐसा ही कुछ था सर.
नहीं, I think all of the maximum from which university you can tell me, so then I will recognize them.
They are both are from Galgotias, sir. They both are from Galgotias.
No anyone from Golgotia University till that in FSL Bhagalpur यानी कि Bihar. Any of either the state or region.
Sumit is living at Madhubani and Abhishek is from Kanpur.
Okay.
And
It will be possible कि he doing her internship because just I have one student in regional lab. That is from BSc Galgotia. From Galgotia.
Okay. I'm at that time of student of when the Mr. Prashant Agarwal was there, the HOD of the Galgotias.
Okay.
He is my HOD.
नहीं अभी just I is MSc in forensic science. I am also doing my MSc in cyber forensic.
Acha,
cyber
acha,
security.
acha, acha. If anything is there, sir, please tell me. Okay, for the Bihar FSLs.
Okay, okay, okay,
If anything positive result happen in Bihar FSL.
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay, okay.
We have a newcomer, Mr. Hemant Kumar Reddy. Mr. Hemant Kumar, welcome to our Digital Forensic Bootcamp Training First Day session. We would like you to introduce yourself to us. Mr. Hemant. Hello, Mr. Hemant. Are you present? Well, I think Mr. Hemant is currently not reachable. He might be present, but due to network issues, he might be facing an issue.
Okay,
Well, Mr.
Patrick.
Piyush, you can
So
continue
let's
the
start
session.
today's sessions of day 1 of digital forensic boot camps right now. Okay.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Is my screen is visible, everyone?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay. Let's start. So before I start the digital forensic, we have to move for what is forensic and who is the father of forensic. So there is a quote written by Edmund Locard, who is also known as the father of forensic science, and this is also known as the principle of exchange, a most famous principle, which based on the total forensic is based on this principle, the principle of exchange. The father of forensic science, Edmund Locard, has given the statement that when a person comes into contact with an object or another object, a cross transfer of physical evidences can occur. Okay, so in the introduction part, let's come to introduction part. Now in these bootcamp sessions, digital forensic is introduction of the computer forensic and the investigations. Now I will give you an overview of forensic science in general and how it works in practical knowledge. Now it will introduce you to the world of digital forensics, and that is applying forensic science to the digital artifacts or digital evidences that we have created every day through our interactions with the computers, mobile phones, unseen objects around us, also known as the Internet of Things or the IoTs. Now let's start. What is forensic science? Now as I move to digital forensic is a part of a forensic science. So what is forensic science? Now the word forensics comes from the Latin word means forensis, meaning of or before the forum. The history of the term originates from the Roman times, when the criminal charge been presenting the case before a group of public individuals in the forum. Now both the person accused of the crime and the accuser would give the speeches based on their side of the story. The case would be decided in favor of the individuals with the best arguments and delivery. Now this origin is a source of the two modern uses of the word forensic. Now as a form of legal evidences, obviously, and as a category of the public presentation. Now in a simple manner, in simple statement, the forensic science is defined in a one statement only. Now it is a forensic science is an application of any sciences related or used in the court of law. So this is all about the forensic science. Now forensic science has different branches, that is forensic medicine, toxicology, fingerprint, question document analysis, narcotics, chemistry, physics. Now there are different of branches of forensic science. Now forensic science is very broad sciences. Now we are considering into the digital forensic. Now now our topic is about the digital forensic. Now digital forensic is a branch of forensic science that focuses on the recovery and investigation of material found in the digital devices related to the cybercrime. Now the term digital forensic was first used as a synonym for the computer forensic. Now since it is then expanded to cover the investigation of any devices that can store the digital data. The first computer crime was reported in 1978. It was early of 21st century that the national policies in the digital forensic got into emerged. Now the digital forensic is a process of identifying, preserving, analyzing, and the documenting of the digital evidences. This is done in order to present the evidences in the court of law when required. Now there are a few steps as we move on to the digital forensic. Now we have to follow the few steps in digital forensic. Now in order of the digital evidences to be accepted in the court of law, it must be handled in every specific way so that there is an opportunity of the cyber criminal to tamper with the evidences. Now, number one is the identification part. Now, find the evidences where it is being stored. Preservation, next to isolate, secure, and preserve the data. This includes preventing the people from possibility of tampering with the evidences. Now, the third part is analysis part. Now, next, the reconstruction of the fragment of data, draw the conclusions and based on the evidences found. The fourth one is a documentation part. Now, create a record of all the data to recreate the cybercrime. And last is a presentation part, and which is the summary or draw a conclusions against it, against the evidences. It is a presentation part. Now, who is digital forensic investigator? Now, a digital forensic investigator is a person who has a desire to follow the evidences to solve crime virtually. Now, imagine a security breach has been happened at a company resulting in the stealing of data. Now, in these situations, the computer forensic analyst would come and determine how the attackers gained access to the network and where they damaged the network, what did they do on the network, whether they took information or plant a malware on it or not. Under those circumstances, a digital forensic investigator's role is to recover the data like the photos, emails, documents, and the computer hard drives and other storage devices such as zip files or the flash drives with the deleted or damaged or otherwise in a manipulated form. Now, how is the digital forensic is used in an investigation process? Now, digital footprints or the digital information gathering is about a person on the system, such as the web pages they have visited and when they were active, what devices they were using. By following the digital footprints, the investigator will excavate the data critical to the solving the cyber crime and the criminal cases. Now, the cyber forensic investigator are the experts in the investigating the encrypted data using various types of software tools, and there are many upcoming techniques that investigators depend on the type of cyber crimes and they are dealing with. Now, the cyber investigators task is to include and recovering of the deleted data, cracking passwords, and finding the source of data breach. Now, once the collected evidences is then stored and translated to make it in a presentable way before the court of law or the police or the further examination done. Now, there are a few phases of a digital forensic. Now, the phase one is the first response. Now, the action is performed right after the occurrence of the security incident is also known as the first response. It is highly dependable on the nature of the incident. Now, the phase two is the search and seizure process. Now, under these phases, the professional search for the devices involved in carrying out the crime, and these devices are then carefully been seized to extract the information out from them. Now, the phases three, the collect the evidences after the search and seizure phases. The professional use the acquired devices to collect the data, and they have well-defined forensic methods for the evidences handling. Now, the phase four is a collect the evidences after the search and seizure phases. Professionals acquired the devices to collect the data, and they have defined forensic method and evidences handling. The secure the evidences, the forensic staff should have access to safe environment where they can secure the evidences. They determine if the collected the data is accurate, authenticate, and accessible in nature. Now, the phase 5 is the data acquisition. So, data acquisition is a process of retrieving the electronically stored data, that is the ESI, from the suspect digital assets. It is helped to gain the insight into the incident with the improper process can alter the data and thus sacrificing the integrity of the evidences. Now, the phase 6 is a data analysis. Under the data analysis, the accountable staff can scan the acquired data to identify the evidential informations, and that can be presented to the court. And these phases is about for the examination, identification, separating and converting the modeling data to transform it into the useful informations. Now, the phase 7 is the evidence assessment. The process of evidence assessment relates the evidential data to secure incident. There should be through the assessment based on the scope of the cases. And the phases 8 is the documentation and reporting. Now, this is a post-investigation phases that covers reporting and documentation of all the findings. Also, the report should have adequate and accepted evidences in the accordance with the court of law. And the last phase is a 9th phase, that is a testify or expert witness. Now, the forensic investigator should approach the expert witness to affirm the accuracy of the evidences. Now, an expert witness is a professional who investigates a crime and to retrieve the evidences. Now, the biggest topic and the hot topic is right now is a cybercrime. Now, what is cybercrime? Now, cybercrime is defined as any illegal act involving in a computer or its system or its in application. Now, the cybercrime is must be intentional. It cannot be accidental in nature. Now, cybercrimes is divided into the three T factor. Number one, the tool of crime, the target of crime, and the tangential to the crime. Now, the examples of the modern day cybercrimes are the theft of intellectual properties, damage of the company services network, financial fraud, hacker system penetrations, denial of service attacks, planting of virus and worms. These are all the modern days examples of cybercrime. Now, modes of attacks. Now, what are the modes of attacks in cybercrime nowadays? Cybercrimes is falls in the two categories depending on the way of attack they take place. Number one is an insider attack, and second is external attack. Now, what are the sources of the digital evidences? Now, what are the sources of digital evidences? Now, digital video cameras, this is also a device of digital evidences. Now, from that source, we can gain pictures, photos, videos, files stored locally or on the media cards, cell phones, text messages, call logs, application use, social media accounts, everything from all categories. Now, computer and the laptop, everything from all categories, social media accounts, internet search histories, documents, email, which is a non web based, mobile devices, everything from all categories, application used, social media accounts, game consoles, pictures, videos, and documents, file storage, hard drives, thumb drives, and optical medias, everything from all categories, internet of things, there is the interactive guide, wearable items, we can use the locations and the apps used. Now, law enforcement agencies also generate the digital evidences. There are also different types of digital evidences we have found, and the devices, that is automated license plated readers, that is LPRs, types of potential evidences, that is the license plate images, the pictures of cars, geolocations, other metadatas in car, the body worn cameras, that is the videos, unarmed vehicle system, that is drones, we can get the videos, interview room recording systems, that is the videos and audio recordings, closed circuit televisions, that is CCTVs, we can get videos from there, teasers, we can find data files from there. Now, how the digital evidences of the electronic evidences were being collected? Now, on the scene, now a scene has been happened. Now, as anyone who has dropped a cell phone in a lake and had their computer damaged in a move or a thunderstorm knows, digitally stored data information is very sensitive and easily can be lost. Now, there are general best practices to properly seize the devices and computers. Now, once the scenes has been secured, the legal authority to seize the evidences has been confirmed. Now, the devices can be collected. Any passwords, codes, or pins should be gathered from the individuals involved. Now, if possible, the associated chargers, cables, peripherals, manuals should be collected. Thumb drives, cell phones, hard drives, and like externals are examined using the different tools and techniques. Now, this is the most often done in a specialized laboratory. Now, first responders need to take the special care with the digital evidences in addition to the normal evidence collection procedure to protect the exposure to things like the extreme temperature, static electricity, and the moisture. Now, the first part, the seizing of the mobile devices. Now, the devices should be turned off immediately and the battery should be removed if possible. Now, turning off the cell phones, preserve the cell tower location, informations, call logs, and preserving prevents the phones from being used, which should be change the data on the phone. Now, in addition, if the devices remain on, remote destruction command should be used without the investigator's knowledge. Some phones can be automatic timer to turn on the phones for updates, which could be compromise the data. So battery removal is optimal in nature. Now, if the devices cannot be turned off, now then it must be isolated from its cell tower by placing it in a Faraday bag or in the blocking material set to an aeroplane mode, or the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or other communication system must be disabled. Now, digital devices should be placed in the anti-static packaging such as the paper bags, envelopes, cardboard boxes. Plastic should be avoided. It can be convey the static electricity or alert the building of the considerations of the humidity. Next, in emergency or the life-threatening situations, now information from the cell phones can be removed and saved at the scenes of crime. Now, but the great care must be taken in the documentation of the action and the preservation of data. Now, while sending the digital devices to the laboratory, that is the CFSLs or FSLs, the investigator must indicate the type of information being sought out. Now, for the instance of the phone's numbers, call histories, or the cell phones, emails, documents, and messages from the computer, or the images on the tablet, and the seizing of the standalone computers and equipments to prevent the alterations of the digital evidences during the collection. The first responders should first document any activity on the computer, components, or devices by taking a photograph and recording any information on the screen. Now, responders may move a mouse without pressing any button or moving the wheel to determine if something is on the screen or not. Now, if the computer is on, calling a computer forensic expert is highly recommended, as a connection to the criminal activity may be lost by turning off the computer. And if a computer is on but is running on the destructive software, that is formatting, deleting, or removing and wiping out the informations, power to the computer should be disconnected immediately to preserve whatever is left on the machine. Now, the office environment provides a challenging collection situations due to the networking, potential loss of evidences, liabilities to agency outside of the criminal investigation. For the instance, if the server is turned off during the seizure, that should be the provided as service to the outer customers. Now, a loss of services to the customer may be very damaging. Now, in addition to the office equipments, and that should contain the evidences such as the copiers, scanners, security cameras, facsimile machines, pagers, and the caller ID units should be collected from there. Now, the computer that are of may be collected into the evidences as per the usual agencies, the digital evidences procedure. Now, what are the procedure of ensuring that the digital evidences remain unchanged, or handling of the digital evidences? Now, evidences handling has a 4 primary areas in any incident response activity. Those areas are as follows. Number 1, the collection, which has to do with the searching for the evidences, recognitions, and the collection of evidences. The documenting the item of evidences always ensure the collection include all the available data and resources, such as the whole disk drives, not just the use portion. Always document the place, time, and the circumstances of each data item collected for the evidences. Now, second one is the hardware evidences examinations, which has to be do with the origins, significance, and the visibility of the evidences. Often can reveal hidden or obscure informations and documentation about the evidences. Now, dimension of styles, sizes, manufacturers of the hard drives, other device of the network items are all of the important evidences, important evidence items. Now, the software and the network evidence analysis, which is where the logs, record, software evidences is actually been examined for the incident, providing the significance criteria for the inclusions and probative value of the evidences. Now, always conduct this software and network analysis interpretation separate from the hardware evidences examinations. Now, the fourth one is the evidences reporting. It must be a written documentation with the process and the procedure outlined and explained in detail in the report. The pertinent to the facts and data recovered or are the primary keys in the reports. Now, understand the documentation and report will always be reviewed, critic, and maybe even cross-examined. Now, we move to the mobile evidences in the digital forensic part. Now, in mobile evidences, the text messages, whether it is a regular text or the iMessages, photos, or chats sent to the social media apps, text messages can convey the conversations or plans of criminal activity. The second one is a phone records. Many cases hinge on who has suspect may have called or received a call from during a suspect of time frame. Browsers and search histories, like just the forensic investigators, such browsers history or the laptops or desktops, they can get more accurate pictures of your activities based on the searches you conduct on your mobile devices. The fourth one is a GPS location. Today's cell phones are well equipped with the modern GPS tools, and investigators can always track your location using the tools and that show where your phone is relations and nearby cell towers. Application of data. Some suspected criminals are using the applications like Snapchat to do the things like sending pictures, receive the child pornography, because the data from the snapshot disappear from being sent. It is harder, though it's not impossible for the law enforcement to track down. Other apps may also contain the data and that can be used in criminal investigation. Now, Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth, because of making the connections to of either of this can help the pinpoint your location at a particular time. It can also be damaging the evidences against in your criminal matter. Multimedia. One of the reasons we have loved today's smartphones is because of the photos, videos, audio capabilities present. All of these can contain the evidences police and may be looking for when the investigating a cases. Now, device file, whether you have saved a document with a list of credit cards numbers you do not belong to you and you have received and you have saved, say a picture of stolen property, and these stored files can be considered the digital evidences. The deleted data, that's right, the photos, voicemail, text, and even the devices files that we suspected attempted to be deleted to cover up the criminal activities and can still be recovered by the forensic specialist. Now, we move on to the brief details about the forensic of mobile, that is the mobile forensic. Now, what is the importance of mobile forensic? The term mobile devices encompasses a wide array of gadgets ranging from the mobile phones, smartphones, tablets, GPS units, and wearable and PDAs, and they are all have in common, in fact, that they can contain a lot of user informations. Now, mobile devices are right in the middle of three blooming technological trends. That is, number one is Internet of Things, IoT. Second is a cloud computing, and third is a big data. The proliferations of the mobile technology is perhaps the main reason, or the at least one of the main reason for these trends and to occur for the first place. Now, nowadays the mobile devices is used in the passive. It is very helpful, especially from in the context of the digital forensic, because the small sized machines are mass of huge number of quantity of data on a daily basis, which can be extracted to facilitate the investigation process. Now, being something like a digital extension of ourselves, and these machines allow the digital forensic investigator to glean a lot of information from that. Now, what are the steps in the mobile forensic process? Now, the first and the foremost one in the forensic field, that is a seizure. The mobile evidences box, as you can see in the pictures, the digital forensic operates on the principle that the evidence should always be adequately preserved, processed, and admissible to the court of law. Now, some legal considerations are go in hand with the configurations of the mobile devices. Now, there are two major risks concerning this phase of the mobile forensic process. Is a lock activation, that is by users or suspected or inadvertent the third party, and the network or the cellular connections. Now, network isolations is always been advisable. It could be achieved either through the aeroplane mode or the disabling the Wi-Fi or the hotspot, the cloning the devices or the SIM cards. Mobile devices are often been seized and switched on, and since the purpose of their configurations is to be preserved the evidences, the best way to transport them is to attempt and keep them turned on to the avoided a shutdown, which would be the invariable alter the files. Now, the third is a Faraday bag. Now, as you can see the pictures of the Faraday bag. Now, how the Faraday bag is used in the digital forensic of mobile. Now, a Faraday box or the bag or the externally power supply are common types of equipment for conducting the mobile forensic. Now, while the former is container specifically designed to isolate the mobile devices from the network communications and at the same time help with the self transportation of the evidences to the laboratory, the later is a power sources embedded inside the Faraday box or the bag. Before putting the phone in the Faraday bag, disconnections it from the network and disable all the network connection, that is the Wi-Fi, GPS and hotspots, the active of the flight mode to protect the integrity of the evidences. Last and but not the least, should beware of the mobile devices being connected to unknown incidentally devices, as well as any other booby trap set to and cause the bodily harm to death to anyone to the crime scene. Accusations. Now we move to the Now we move to the second part, that is the acquisitions or the identifications or the extraction of data. Now the goal of this phase is to retrieve the data from the mobile devices. A lock screen can be unlocked with the right pin or the password, or the pattern or the biometric passcodes are protected. The fingerprints also. Now some of the similar lock measures may exist on app, images, SMS, or the messenger. Encryptions on the other hand provides the security on a software and the hardware level, and that is the most impossible to circumvent. It is harder to be control the data on the mobile devices because the data is mobile as well. Once communications or the files are sent to the smartphone, control is lost. Although there are defined devices having the capabilities to store the considerable amount of data, the data is itself may be physical or be in another location. To give an example, the data synchronizations among the devices and the applications can take place directly, but also via the cloud. Now the services such as Apple iCloud, Microsoft OneDrive are the prevalent among the mobile devices users, which leave open the possibility of the data acquisition from there. For that reason, the investigator should be attentive to any indications and the data may be transcend and the mobile devices as a physical objects, because such as the occurrence may affect the collections and even the preservation process. Now since the data is constantly being synchronized and the hardware and the software may be able to bridge the data gap, let's take an example for that. The Uber, it has in both an app and fully functional website. All the informations can be accessed through the Uber app on a phone and may be pulled off the Uber website instead, or even the Uber software program installed on a computer. Now regardless of the type of the evidences, identifying the locations of the data can be further be implemented due to the fragmentation of the operating systems and item specifications. Now open system Android operating systems alone comes in the several different versions. Even the Apple iOS may vary from the versions to the versions. Another challenge that the forensic experts need to overcome is the abundant and the ever changing the landscape of the mobile apps. Now create a full list of all the installed apps. Some apps are archived and backup data. Now after the one identifies the data sources, the next step is to collect the information properly, and there are certain unique challenges concerning the gathering of information in the context of the mobile technology. Now many mobile devices cannot be collected by creating an image. Instead that may be an undergo process called the acquisition of data. Now there are various protocols collecting the data from the mobile devices, as certain the design specifications may also only one type of the acquisitions. Now the forensic examiner should always make a SIM card imaging a procedure that recreates a replica of the image of the SIM card content. As with done some other replicas, the original evidences will remain intact with the replica image is being used for the analysis. Now all the image files should be hashed and ensure the data remains accurate and unchanged at that card. Now the third one is the examination and analysis. The first step of every digital forensic investigators to involving the digital mobile devices. The forensic experts need to identify the types of mobile devices, example the GPS, smartphones, tablet, etc. Type of networks, whether it is using the GSM set or not, whether it is using a CDMA or the TDMAs, the carriers, the service providers with the reverse lookup engines, etc. Now, examiner may needs to use the numerous forensic tools to accord the analyzing the data residing to the machine, and due to the sheer diversity of the mobile devices, there is one and the one size fits all the solution regarding the mobile forensic tools. Is a constantly it is advisable to use more than one tool for the examination. That is a access data, and stealth kit and encase are the most popular forensic software products that has been analytic and capabilities. The most appropriate tools is being chosen depending on the type of the models of the mobile devices. The timelines and link analysis available in mobile devices tool could tie up each of the most significant events for the forensic analysis point of view. Now all of the information, evidences and other findings are extracted, analyzed and documented throughout the investigator should be presented in another forensic examine. The court is a clear, concise and in a complete manner. Now this is one of the flow diagram where the computer forensic investigation process model has been happened. Now first is the acquisition part, second will be the identification, and third will be the evaluations and the admission as evidences. Now, media can be the physical context, data should be in the logical context, and the information should be in the legal context. Now, this model represents about the computer forensic investigation process. And let's move further. There is the investigation process of is a flowchart of investigation process for the digital forensic science. That is number one is the identification part, second is the collection, third will be the preservation, fourth will be the examination, and fifth will be the analysis, and sixth will be the presentation part. Now, in the mobile forensic tool classifications method, the tool classification pyramid as we go, that is a micro read chip of hex dump JTAG method, and logical extractions and the manual extraction from the Android devices or any mobile devices. Now it is parted into the two parts, that is a non-invasive methods and the invasive methods. Now in the non-invasive methods, can deal with the other tasks such as the unlocking the SIM, lock or the operator lock, or the operating system update, that is IMEI number, modifications, etc. Now this technique are the virtually inapplicable in the cases where the device is sustained or even the severe physical damage. Now, type of non-invasive mobile forensic methods are the number one is manual extractions. Now, what we do in the manual extractions as a digital forensic investigators, the digital forensic investigators' role to examine the merely browsers through the data using the mobile devices, that is a touch screen or the keypads, information of the interest discovered on the mobile phone, that is a photographically documented. And this process of the manual extraction is very simple and applicable to almost every phone, while there is some of the tools designed to make this process easier. It is not possible, however, to restore the deleted data in this way only has been done by digital forensic investigators. Second is logical extractions. Another approach involves an institute connection between the mobile devices and the forensic workstations using the USB cable, Bluetooth, infrared or RJ45 cables. Following the connecting part, the computer sends command request to the devices and the devices send back data from its memory. The majority of the forensic tool supports the logical extraction. The process itself requires a short-term training on the downside. However, this technique may add data to the mobile devices and may alter the integrity of the evidences. Also, the deleted data is rarely accessible. Now, the third one is a JTAG method. The JTAG method is a non-invasive form of the physical acquisition, and that could extract the data from the mobile devices even when the data was difficult to access to the software avenues because the evidences is damaged, locked or encrypted, and the devices however must be easily partially functional. The minor damages would be hinder this method. And the process involving connecting to the test access ports, the data taps on the devices and instructing the processors to transfer the raw data stored on a computer in a connected memory chips. Now, this is a standard feature that one could come across in many mobile phones models, and which provides mobile phone manufacturers a low-level interface outside in the operating system. Digital forensic investigators takes an interest in JTAG as it is in the theory allow the direct access to the mobile devices memories. It can allow the direct access to the mobile devices memory without the jeopardizing it. And despite that fact, it is a labor intense. It is a labor intense, the time consuming procedures, and it requires advanced knowledge. It is not only the JTAG for the model for the phones under the investigations, but also how to arrange a new resulting binary composed of the phone memory structure. The fourth one is a hex dump, that is the similar to the JTAG method. The hex dump is another method of the physical extractions of the raw information stored in the flash memories. It is performed by connecting the forensic workstations to the devices and then tunneling as an assigned code to the bootloader into the devices. Each of them will carry the instructions of the dump memory and from the phones to the computer, resulting the image is fairly technical. In binary format, it is required the person having the technical education to analyzing it. Furthermore, the examination comes into the processions of an abundant amount of data. Since the deleted data can be recovered on of that top, the entire process is very inexpensive in nature. the most important method, that is the invasive method. Typically they are longer and more complex. In cases the devices is entirely the non-functionable due to some of the severe damage, it is very likely only way to retrieve the data from the devices might be manually removed, and image of the flash memory chips of the devices, even if the devices is items is not good condition, the acquisitions and the circumstances may acquire the forensic expert and to acquire the chips contains the physically. Now the third one is a chip off method. The process that requires refers to obtaining the straight data straight from the mobile devices, that is a memory chip. According to the preparations and pertaining to this level, the chip is detached from the devices and the chip readers to the second phone is used to extract the data stored in the devices using the under the investigation process. Now it should be noted that this method is technically challenging because of the wide variety of chips types of existing on the mobile markets. Now also the chip off process is expensive. Training is required and the examiner should procedure the specific hardware to conduct the desoldering and heating of the memory chips. Now bits and bytes of the raw information, this is an retrieve of the memory and yet to be parized and decoded and interpreted. Now even the smallest mistake may lead to the damages of the memory chip, which in the effect and would render to the data irrevocably lost, and consequently the experts advise having the recourses of the chip off. And number one, the method of extractions is already attempted. It is important to preserve the current state of the device's memory. The memory chip is only elemental and mobile devices is not broken. Now the whole process is consisting of the 5 stages, that is the detect the memory chips typology of the devices, physical extractions of the chip, for example, and unwinding it, interfacing the chips using the reading and programming the software, reading and transferring of data from chip to a PC, interpretation of the acquired data using the reverse engineering. The last 2 phases coincide with those of the 2 non-invasive method. However, the phases of the physical extraction and the interfacing are the critical to the outcome to the invasive analysis. Now micro read, the micro read is manually being taken taking all around the view through the lenses of an electron microscope, analyzing the data seen on the memory chips, more specifically the physical gates to the chips. In a nutshell, a microchip is a method of demands the utmost level of expertise, too costly and time consuming. It is reversed for the serious national security crisis. Now now the most interesting part in the digital forensic bootcamp is what are the tools uses in the digital forensic analysis. Now in the digital forensic the forensic investigations are always challenging, as you will gather all the information you could, the evidence and the mitigation plan. Now here are some of the computer forensic tools you can use, and most of them are free of cost, and whether it is an use for the internal human resource cases and investigations into the unauthorized access to the server, or if you want to learn the new skill, and these suits and utilities will help you to conduct the memory forensic analysis, hard drive forensic analysis, forensic imaging explorations, forensic imaging and mobile forensic. As such, all are provided to ability to bring back in-depth information what you have under the hood of a system. Now the first one is an autopsy, which is the most important tool in the digital forensic field. The autopsy is a GUI-based open source digital forensic program to analyze the hard drive smartphones effectively. Autopsy is used for thousands of users worldwide, and to investigate what actually happened in the computer. The encrypted data disk detector is a second tool. The encrypted disk detector can helpful to check the encrypted data of the physical drives. It can support the TrueCrypt, PGP, BitLocker, Safe Boot and encrypted volumes. Third is the Wireshark. Wireshark is a network capture and analyzer tool you to see what happening in your network. The Wireshark will be handy to investigate the work related incident. Now the fourth one is a magnet RAM capture. You can use the magnet RAM capture to capture the physical memory of a computer and analyze the artifacts in the memory. Network miner, an interesting network forensic analyzer of the Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. It is a detect of the OS host name, sessions, open ports through the packet sniffing or by PCAP files. Network miner provides extracted the artifacts in an intrusive user. The sixth one is an Nmap or the network mapper. It is one of the most important tool in the popular network and security auditing tool. That is the Nmap is supported on most of the operating system, includes Windows, Linux, Solaris, Mac OS, HP apps, etc. It is an open source tool. It is so free in nature. You can download the tool in Linux, Kali, in Windows, in Mac, etc. Now, the 10th software is a hashmy file. The hashmy file will help to calculate the MD5 hashes and the SH1 hashes. It works on the almost all latest Windows OS. The 11th one is a crowd response. Response to the CrowdStrike is an Windows applications to gather the system informations for the incident response and security engagement. Now you can view the result in the XML, CVS, or the TSV HTML with the help of an CR convert. It runs on the 32 or 64-bit of a Windows XP and above operating systems. Now the CrowdStrike has a nice tool for the investigation. Number one is a Tortilla, anonymously routing TCP/IP and DNS traffic through the Tor. Sherlock scanners, the scan your network and Sherlock vulnerability. Heartbeat scanners, the scan your network for the OpenSSL heartbeat vulnerability. The 12th one is a toolslay. The toolslay has a tone. It is basically a framework. It is not a tool. You've got a 10 useful tool for the investigation. That is the number one is a file signature verifier. Then is a file identifier, hash and validate, binary inspectors, encode text, data URI generators, and password generators. The 13th is a stealth kit. The stealth kit is a collection of the command line tool to investigate and analyzing the volume of the files system to find the evidences. Number 14 is a canine. The cane is a computer-aided investigate information environment. It's a Linux distro and that offers a computer forensic platform which has an 80 tool to use to analysis, investigate, and create an actionable report. Number 15 is a volatility. The volatility is a memory of the forensic framework. It is used for to incident the response and malware analysis. With this tool, you can extract the informations resulting in process, network sockets, network connections, DLLs, registry hives. It also has a support for the extracting information from Windows hash dump files and hibernation files also. Now, 16th is a bulk extractor, which is a very important tool in digital forensic. The bulk extractor. The bulk extractor is an important and digital forensic tool. It can scan the disk images, files, or the directory of the files, extract the useful information. In this process, it ignores the file system structure, so it is very fast and otherwise available in the similar kinds of tools. It is basically used by the intelligence, law enforcement agencies in the solving the cyber crimes. Now, 17 is the Oxygen forensic tool. If you are investigating cases and that requires you to gather the evidences from the mobile phone or to support the cases, the Oxygen forensic tool in the standard edition is a tool which will help you achieve this. The Splico is an open source network forensic analysis tool, that is NF80. It aims to extract the application data from the internet traffic. Example, Spico can extract the email messages, pop-up messages, IMAP, and SMTP traffic. Features include the supports for a multitude of protocol. For example, the HTTP, SIP, IMAP, TCP, UDP, TCP assembly, and its ability to output the data of the MySQL or the SQLite databases among the others. The 19th is a free hex editor Neo. That is, it is based on the hex editor and can design to handle every large files. While a lot of additional features found in the commercial versions, the hex editor Neo, I find this tool useful for the loading the large files, database files, forensic imaging, performing actions such as the manual data cravings, low-level file editing, information gathering, searching for the hidden data, etc. And last is the Access Data or the FTK Imager. It's a tool made by the Access Data. FTK Imager is a forensic toolkit developed by the Access Data. It used to get the evidences and can create the copies of data without making any changes to the original evidences. Then this tool allows to specify the criteria like the large size pixel size and the data type to reduce the amount of the irrelevant data. Now the features, it provides the wizard driven approaches to detect the cyber crimes. This program offers better the visualization of data using a chart. You can recover the password more than of using the 100 applications. It has an advanced automated data analysis facilities. FTK Imager helps you to manage the reusable program and profiles for the different investigation requirements. It supports the pre and the post processing refinements. Now, section 3 is how data is stored in a computer. Now we come to the section 3, the how data is stored in a computer. Now using the computer, laptops, tablets, mobile phone concerns storing and retrieving and transferring information in an efficient way. Data is represented on the modern storage media using the binary numeral system. All data is stored on a digital media, whether it is on hard disks, HDD, solid state disks, general external hard drives, USB flash drives, cards that can be converting into the strings of bit, otherwise known as binary digits. And using these binary digits, we have the value of 1 to 0. The strings can be made up for the uploads of photographs, documents, audios, videos. A byte is the most common unit of the storage, which is equals to the 8-bit. All data in the computer stored in the number. For example, letter become numbers. The complete work of, say, for take an example, the complete work of Satoshi is about the 1250 pages in the print, contain the 40 billion millions of bits with the 1 byte per letter, totaling the 5 megabyte, that is the 5 MB. Photographs are converted into set of numbers, and that incident, the locations, color, and brightness of the each pixels, whereas the convention of the numbers using the 10 digit is a 0 to 1 to 9, and the binary numbers are using the 2 digits to represent all the possible values, and the conventions number from 0 to 8 translate into the binary number, that is 0, 1, 10, 11, 100, 101, 110, 11, 111, and 1000. Where the binary numbers value can be stored as a series of items which are either been true or false. The binary data is primarily stored in a hard disk drive, that is HDD. The devices is made up for the spinning or the disks or the magnetic coatings, heads that can be having both read and write informations in the form of magnetic patterns, in addition to hard disks, floppy disks, tapes used for the stored data magnetically, and newer laptops such as mobile phones, tablets, USB flash drive, SD cards use a solid state storage with the storage medias. With the storage medias, the binary numbers are instead of the stored of a series of electrical charges with a NAND flash chip. Because of all the data is made up of strings of the binary number, just one number out of place can cause a file to become corrupt in nature. Now, what is data recovery? Now, data recovery is a process of restoring the data that has been lost, accidentally, deleted, corrupted, or made inaccessible. Now, in enterprise or the IT sectors, the data recovery typically refers to the restorations of data to a desktop, laptop, server, or external storage systems from backup. Now, what are the causes of data loss? Now, most of the data loss is caused by the human error rather than the malicious attack. In fact, the human error accounted for the almost two-thirds of the incident. The most common type of breach occur when someone sent the data to the wrong person. Other common causes of the data loss include the power outrage, natural disaster, equipment failures of malfunctions, accidental deletion of data, unintentional formatting of the hard drives, damaged hard drives, read and write headers, software crashes, logical errors, firmware corruptions, continued use of the computer after the signs of failure, the physical drives and damage of the hard drives, laptop theft, spilling of coffee or the water on a computer. Now, how data recovery works? Now, data recovery is a process and varies depending upon the circumstance of data loss. The data recovery software used to create the backup and backup the target medias. For an example, many desktop or the laptop backup software platforms allow users to restore the lost files themselves, while restoring of a corrupted database from a tape of backup is most complicated process that requires IT intervention. Data recovery services can also be used to retrieve the file where not backup and accidental deleted of the computer file system, but still remain on the hard disk in the fragment way. The data recovery is possible because the file and the informations about the files are stored in a different places. For example, the Windows operating system use a file allocations and able to and allocation table to track with the files on the hard drive, and when they are stored, the allocation table is like the book uh, table of contents, while the actual files on the hard drives are like the pages of the book. Uh, when data needs to be recovered, it usually only the file allocation table that's not working properly. The actual files is recovered may still on the hard drive in the flawless condition. If the file still exists, it is not damaged or encrypted, it can be recovered. If the file is damaged, missing or encrypted, there are other ways to recovering it. If the file is physically damaged, it can put be a reconstructed way. Many applications such as Microsoft Office put the uniform headers at the beginning of the file to designate that they are belonging to the application. Now, some utilities can be used to reconstruct the file headers manually, so at least the files can be recovered. Most of the data recovery process combines technologies, so organizations aren't solely recovered data by tape. Recovering core applications and data from the tape takes time, and you may need to access your data immediately after the disaster, and there are also risks involving in transporting of tapes. In addition, no, not all the production data at a remote locations may be needed to resume the operations. Therefore, it wisely be to identify that what to be left behind, the what data must be recovered. Now, the data recovery technique. Now, instant recovery is also known as the recovery in place. Tries to eliminate the recovery windows by redirecting the user's workloads to the backup servers. The snapshot is created. So the backup remains in the pristine state. All the users write informations operations are redirected to the snapshot. Users the work of the backup virtual machine VMs, and recovery process begins to the background. Users have no idea that recovery is taking place. Once the recovery is complete, the user's workload is redirected back to the original VM. Now, one way to avoid the original consuming and costly process of data recovery is to prevent the data loss from every taking places, and the data loss preventions or the DLP procedures help companies to identify the stop data leaks come in the two versions, that is the standalone positions and the integrated positions. Now the standalone DLP's products can reside on the seized appliances or to be sold as a software. Integrated DLP's products are usually found in the perimeter security gateways and are usually useful for detecting the sensitive data at rest and in motion. Unlike the standalone data loss prevention products, integrated DLP products usually do not share the same management consoles, policy managements, and engines of the data storage. Integrating the data recovery into the DR plans. Now, an organization's disaster recovery plan should identify the people in the organizations responsible for recovering of data, provides a strategy for how data will be recovered, the documented acceptable recovery point and the recovery time objects. It should be include the steps to take in the recovery data. Now, for example, If the building is inoperable, substance affected, the business units must be advised to prepare to relocate to an altered the locations. If the hardware systems have been damaged or destroyed, process must be activated to recover the damaged hardware. Process to recover the damaged software should be part of the DR plans. Some of the resources we are reviewing for the National Institute of Standards, that is technology of SP 834 standard, as well as the ISO 24762 and 27031 standard. The business impact analysis can help an organization to understand this data requirement and identify the minimum amount of time needed to recover the data in its previous state. Now, one challenge of data loss and the data recovery is getting handle to the unstructured data stored on the various devices. Now, but there the steps can be mitigate the damage. Start by classifying the database on its sensitivity and determining with the classifications must be secured, and then determine how much data has been compromised and to affect the organizations. Undertaking a risk assessment to determine what controls are needed to protect the sensitive data. Finally, put systems in a place of a store and protect the content. The fourth one is the process of the data recovery. Now, how the data recovery, what are the process included in data recovery? Now, data loss is often an incredible, stressful situations, no matter how it happens. Whether you bent and flash drive or the hard drive on a document, dropped an external drive containing your family photos, or the server with your business entire financial records is just been corrupted. Now I come to the evaluation part of the data recovery. And now when it comes to the data recovery and the data loss and recovery is the foremost and important step to correct the diagnosis. Yeah, you cannot properly initiate the data recovery process without knowing the reason for the data loss. Now this helps in determining whether there was physical damage or the digs or the logical errors during the reading. Number one, there is two types of damages happen. Number one is a physical damage, and second one is a logical damage. Now, the physical damage is a hardware level that can be scratched, smashed, fire damage, or the liquid damage. In such cases, most of the common element of the disks that gets damaged are to the read and write headers, internal external drives, electronic motors being pelleted. Then, sir, the recovery process in those cases to be undertaken by the specialist and use the latest technology in the laboratory conditions, namely the clear loop, and that is a clean room. Logical damage on the software level is caused by the fault of integrity of the local logical structure of data. It also caused by the damage to the actual media. Sometimes it also the case of standard software program can be used, but often the problem is so complicated that the specialist help from a data recovery lab is required. Now, the time for the clean room. Why we need the clean room? Now, a clean room is a main department of every company providing the professional data recovery services. It is a professional workshop consisting of the specialized hardware and the software equipment. Other items of the great importance of more ordinary such as like the tables, chairs, shelves, special containers, tools, and even the floor covered with the suitable material and fully equipped the clean rooms of the stereoscopic microscope, the soldering stations, and the clean room benches. The stereos microscopes helps the engineers to work on a smaller and the smaller hardware component as well as on the other storage medias. Every time data loss is caused by the physical damage, and the data recovery engineers must work on the internal parts on the hard drives. During the such advanced recoveries, it is necessary to ensure the highest level of this air quality is maintained. The standard environment of the working open hard drives is classified as a class 100 in terms of the air quality. ESD protections and other key element that has to be taken under the considerations in order to achieve the highest level of the efficiency and safety. This is because an uncontrolled electrical discharge and that can cause the damage to the electronic components within a computer system, including the electronic parts of the hard drives. in order to avoid these ESDs protection equipment. The dielectric materials are used. The dielectric materials are used, and which includes a specialist workbenches to storage the pins, hardware tools, and anti-static aprons are there. The data recovery, different types of media failures, physical and logical requires, and the different recovery approaches. Now, logical damage, when a logical damage occurs, specialized software is required, and this software reads the content of the drives and requires the structural errors which leads to the data loss. A reason for the data logical data loss is a damage of the unreadable master boot records, that is MBR. Deletion, deleted the partitions to the partition table, reinstalling of the operation systems, there is no backup, restoration of the factory settings, there is no backup, damage of the missing file system, deleted files, formatted drives, damage rate control, losing rate configuration. The physical damage, in case of the physical damage, the situation is more complicated, recovering the data from the failed devices. The failed drives and must be performed in the sterile environment. The drives can be safely and easily be disassembled, tested, and fixed. The failed components must be placed with the matching and fully work with the spare elements from a donor drive. And donor drive sometimes needs to be matched by the disk type, model, and the production date. The physical damage to the pallets forces engineers to force the recovery efforts of the undamaged part of the pallet. Such recovery usually uses us more than one set of the donor drives, might be extended and recovery the time. After the physical recovery process is complete, it is usually necessary to fix the logical structure as well. It is a process can be seen as similar to the putting together of the jigsaw puzzle. Actually, it is the most difficult process, given that the pieces is no way resembles the whole data set is going to be recreated. Now the data preparations. Now, after all the data recovery process are complete, the data needs to be prepared before being shipped back to the customer. The files are copied and then to the new external hard disk drive, encrypted for the extra security. Last and very last stages of this process is a client approval of the recovery result. The client can then decide if the recovery turned out to be successful or a failure one. Now the Now, I move to the biggest part of the digital forensic right now is a hashing. Now, what is hashing? Now, what is hashing? The hashing is designed to solve the problems needing to the efficiency to find or store and items in a collection way. For example, if we have a list of 10,000 word in English and we want to check if the given word is in list, it would be inefficient to successively compare the words in 10,000 items until we find a match. Even if the list of words are lexicographically sorted like a dictionary, you will still need some time to find the words you are looking for. Now, hashing is a technique to make things efficient and effectively, narrowing down the search of the outset. Now, what is hashing? The hashing means some of the functions or algorithms to map object data to some representative in the integer value. Means this is to call the hash code or simply the hashes. Can then be also way to the narrow down the searches looking for the items in the map. Generally, these hash code are used to generate an index at which the value is being stored. Now, how the hashing works? In the hash tables, you store data in the forms of key and the value pairs. The key, which is used to identify the data given in an input of the hashing function. Now, the hash codes, it is an integer, it is mapped and now fixed. We have now the hash tables are three main function. What is the insert, that is key or value, get is only the key, and delete is only the key. And purely as an example, help us to grab the concept. Let us suppose that we want a map, a list of strings key or the strings values For example, a map of list of countries to their capital cities. Now, so let's say that we have to store the data in a table in the map, and let us suppose that our hash function is simply take the length of the string. For simplicity, we will have the two arrays, one for the one key and other for the values. So to put an items in the hash table, we communicate this hash code in these cases. Simply count the number of characters and then put the key and value of arrays at the corresponding index. Now, how does a hash function means? Now, a hash functions is has a group of characters that is called key, and the map is to value the certain length that is called the hash value of the hashes. The hash value is representing the original strings of the character, but it is normally smaller than the original. Now, hashing is done for indexing the locating the items and databases because it is easier to find the short value and then the longer string. Hashing is also used in the encryption format, and this term is also known as the hashing algorithms or the message digest function. Now, explanation of the hash function. Now, hashing is used for database to enable the items to retrieve more quickly. Hashing can also use for the encryptions and decryptions of the digital signatures. The hash functions transform the digital signatures, and both the hash value and the signatures are sent to the receiver. The receiver uses the same hash functions to generate the hash value and then compares it to receive within the message. Now, if the hash value are the same, it is likely to be the message was transmitted without any errors. One example of function is called foldings. Now, in this takes an original value, divides into the several parts, and then adds the parts, uses the last four remaining digits and hash value of the key. Another example is called digital rearrangement. This take the digits in certain positions of the original value, such as the third and the sixth number, reverse in their order, and it should be value the number from the left one over the hash value. It is nearly be impossible to determine the original number based on the hash value unless the algorithm was used in known. Now, what are the benefits of hashing? Now, one main use of hashing is to compare the two files for the equality without opening the two documents files to compare them from word for the word. Calculated the hash value of these files will allow the owner to know immediately if they are different. Now, hashing is also used to verify the integrity of the files altered has been transferred from one place to another, and typically it is in file backup. It is the file backup program. It is a sync back, and to ensure the transfer file it is not being corrupted, and user can compare the hash value to both the files and they are same and then been transferred into the identical copy. In some situations, an encrypted file may be designed or never been changed the file size nor the last modifications due to the time and date. For example, a virtual drive contains the container of the file. In such cases, it would be impossible to take a glance of two similar files and in different or not, but the hash value would easier and tells these files apart if they are different. The types of hashings. Now, there are many different types of hash algorithm. There is a RIP, MD, trigger, access hash, and more. But most of them common using hashes using for the integrity and checks. That is the MD5 hashes, SHA2, and the CRC32. Now, what is MD5 hashes? Now, in MD5 hash functions is encode a string information and encodes it into the 128-bit fingerprint. And MD5 is often used to check the sum of the verify the data integrity. However, due to its age, MD5 is also known as suffer from the extensive hash collisions vulnerabilities, but it is one of the most widely used algorithm in the world. Now, the SH2 develops the National Security Agencies, that is the NSA. It is a cryptographic hash function. SH2 includes the significant changes from its predecessors. SH1 and SH2 family consist of the 6 hash functions with the digest of hash value. There are 224, 256, 384, and all the 512 bits, and the SHA has two SHA 224 and SHA 256 and SHA 384, SHA 512, SHA 152, and 224, etc. Now, CRC32 a cyclic rudimentary check is an error detecting code often uses for deletions or accidental changes to data, encoding the same data string using for the CRC32 always used in the result in a some hash output, and thus the CRC32 is sometimes used is a hash algorithm file for the file integrity check. Now these days the CRC32 is rarely being used, and file is used for the zip files and FTP and FTP servers, etc. Now, what are cryptography's hash functions? Now, cryptography hash functions is an algorithm that takes an arbitrary amount of data input, credential, and it produces a fixed size output. Encrypted encrypted text is called the hash value or just a hash. The encrypted text can be stored instead of passwords itself and later used for the verifying the users. Now, certain properties of the cryptographic hash functions impact the security and the password storage. That is a non-reversibility or one-way functions. Now, a good hash should have it's very hard to reconstruct the original password from the output of the hashes and the diffusions of the avalanche effect. Now, the change in just in the one bit of the original password, it should be the change in a half a bit of hashes. In other words, when a password is changed significant slightly, the output of the encrypted text should be changed and significantly in an unpredictable way. The determinism, the given password always be generate the same hash value or the encrypted text, the cipher text, and in the collision resistance it should be the harder to find the different password and the hash to the same encrypted text, a non-predictable one, and the hash value should be the predicted to the from the password. And the good, the cryptography hashes text clear text password and turn into the ciphered text in ciphertext for the storage. Attackers who access your database and force to decipher those hash values if they want to exploit them. In other words, hashes slow down the attackers. The bad one, the simple cryptographic hashes can slow down your attackers, but ultimately attackers will able to overcome them. Attackers equipped with the fastest hardware and easily been cracked hash and credentials. Good hashes algorithms are designed to collision resistance, but the collisions are impossible to eliminate them completely. MD5 and SH1 has been proven it contains the known collisions, and that is provided the same hash value from the different credentials. Rainbow tables optimize the lookup tables and then can be used for the reverse engineering. One way hash functions are rainbow tables is basically the pre-computed set of plain text string and their corresponding hashes. Large rainbow tables and publicly available attackers can use those tables to retrieve the clear text data which has been hashed. Now, power up your cryptographic hashes. Now, these are the variations that can improve your hash function and provide a greater barrier against attack. It is number one is a salted hash, that is a salting adds random the data to plain in the plain text credential. The result of two identical plain text passwords are also now then differentiated in the encrypted text and to form the duplicates not to be detected. And the key hash function, the key hash functions is also known as the hash messages encodation of the authentication of code, or the HMAC is an algorithm and use a cryptographic key and a cryptographic hashes function and to produce a message authentication code, and that is keyed and hashed. Now, adaptive hash functions, and adaptive hash function is one function that is designed to illustrate on its inner workings, feeding the output back and input. The matter that causes it to the ultimate takes longer to execute to adaptive because the developer can understand how many iterations occur, and to protect those passwords, architects are applied to adaptive design to the hash functions and encryption schemes. That is the bcrypt. Now, what are the guidelines we are doing for the hash value? Now, following are the rules regarding the hash value extracted the digital evidences investigations, manual central board of direct taxes, Department of Revenues, Ministry of Finance, Government of India are using the we are all are following the guideline for the hash value. Now, accessing a system of the hard disks, it is in any way without the use of the right to protect device causes changes in the hash value or the digital fingerprint of the disks, and this can be render the evidences on such disks inadmissible. Mathematical hashing is an equivalent one-way encryption. Every digital forensic is a lowest level and translate a big numerical number When a digital evidence's data is encrypted with a hashing algorithm, it results in a new number of fixed length. It's called a dark message digest, and the hash algorithm has some unique characteristic which is also known as follows. The direct message has always been the fixed length, and digital evidences may of any sizes, but on application of the hash algorithm, resultant messages digest would always to be the fixed length. Now number two is a message digest, is random and generated. The message digest is always the fixed length. The digital evidences may be of any sizes, but on the application of the hash algorithm, the resultant message digest would always be to the fixed length. The message digest is randomly generate the number. The message digest can randomly generate the number. However, it can contain the digital evidences remain the same. The hash algorithm would generate the same message digest every time it is applied for the digital evidences, and this property is useful for in authenticating the size of the digital evidences before the court of law. If the application of the size of the hash algorithm on the digital evidences in the court of law is the same method digest as to obtain the during the time of seizure, it indicates the presented evidences in the same what they are seized. Now, one-way hash function. It is the feasible to determine the content of the digital evidences. If someone knows the message digest that hash algorithm in the one-way function, this property has a great importance from the legal point of view, since it is prevalent the manipulation of digital evidences, as one can predict that that message digest and would be generated if the evidences is manipulated. Now the collision-free hashes, the odds that the digital pieces evidently with the different contents, it is the same message digested for roughly for 2 to power of 128 and 34, following the 37 zeros. On the completion of the imaging process, the devices display the hashes value, and the clone hard disks, the images have to the same hash value, and then paired with the target hard disks, the hash value should be recorded in the panchnama, and the assessment can be given to the opinion for seeking a copy for the imagined clone hard disk, paying or copying the charges. And before the seizing of any digital evidences, the hash value may be calculated for the using for the forensic tools, that is the cyber check or the duplicator or anything else. It will be reported the generator of these tools. Of this the tool of this the tool which can be attached with the panchnama. A digital forensic report given by the forensic examiner containing the details of the hash value, drop down open the digital forensic evidences at various times and to gather further evidences should be included an assessment order. If the chain of custody forms in present the same as annexed to the assessment order, it will establish the integrity of the data before any the court of law. Now, now the procedure of imaging seized hard disks in cases where the hard disk cannot be cloned at the site and therefore seized. Two sets of image cloning should be created in the lab in the presence of the assessment on his representative and the unauthorized officer, following the same procedure and describing above. A punchnama should be prepared for this activity regarding the hash value. Each of the hard disks imagined for the other particulars mentioned above, and the assessment will be given to the opinion to obtain the copy of the image at its cost as its cost. The section 3 of the IT Act, authentication of the electronic data records, and subjected to the provisions of this section, subscribers may authenticate an electronic record by affixing its digital signature. Authentication of the electronic record shall be effected to the use an asymmetrical crypto system, and the hash function should which involves the transformation of the initial electronic records, otherwise electronic records. Explanations. Now, for the subsections, the hash functions means an algorithm mapping all the translation of one sequence bits into another, generally smaller, set known as the hash result, and such that the electronic records yield in the same hash, resulting time of algorithm to execute the same electronic records, and its put making computable feasible. and to derive to reconstruct the original electronic records from the hash result procedure to the algorithms, and the two records, electronic records, procedure for the same hash results using the algorithms. Now, that's all for today for the day one of bootcamp. Next, for the next day, I will come to the concept of encryption, hashing, encoding, and officiations. I will come to the next part or the day two of the bootcamp. If anyone have any questions regarding this topic, can ask me on a text box.
Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Hello, everybody. So, any questions from our viewers? Mrinmoy, Mr. Rohan. Yes, Mr. Bhargavesh, we have a question. Mr. Piyush, his question being, digital forensics use police cyber cell.
Yes, digital forensic is used by the police cyber cells, and which are the tools are using in what I have discussed, the different types of tools which are using in digital forensic. Those tools are used for cyber cells, police cyber cells. Or any source to download. Now, can we get any courses material to mail or any source or download? Yes, I will send you this copy. If you have Discord link, I think that you people have Discord link. I will submit that copy in the Discord link. Now, Hemant is asking that can we recover data from the burn device? No, no, we cannot recover any recover data from any burnt devices. If the devices is already burnt, so how we can retrieve the data from this? We will get a copy of PPT. Yes, yes, obviously I will give you the copy. Vikasa, I will obviously send you the copy of this today's sessions. But is it interesting? Yes or no? Anyone can answer. Is it interesting? Is the digital forensic bootcamp is interest?
Please give your views through the. Please unmute yourself and tell. I mean, it's a Google Meet. I don't think so. We have to type in the chat section. You
Yes,
can unmute yourself and
this is a
please,
Google Meet, so you can speak. You can unmute
please
yourself
speak out
and
whatever you would
you
like to
can
speak.
speak. We'll be discussing of the live cases. This is an institute, so we do not have any live cases. But I will show you how to retrieve the data from pen drives. Okay, and that will be on the fourth day of the bootcamp. Okay, what we have to do if the terrorists burn physical devices, we cannot do anything as because if the physical devices is already burned, so we cannot retrieve the data from that piece. Cyber terrorism. Cyber terrorism, sir, is a part of the CEA, that is a certified ethical hacking. It is a part of cyber terrorism. It is a part of certified ethical hacking part. It is not a part of digital forensic. If you are interested in ethical hacking, you are welcome to have a session for CEH or the certified ethical hacking bootcamp session, sir.
Guys, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask. It's like asking in the chat section is a little different. We are having a live interactive session. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. We have no doubt.
Cybersecurity and digital forensic is different. Hemant, good question. Is cybersecurity and digital forensic is different? Yes, obviously. Cybersecurity is there to detect the threats, to detect the threats, attacks on your systems, on your companies, and digital forensic role is to defend those attack after the attacking has been published. Okay. Sir, how we can trace the Bitcoin address? See, if the Bitcoin, Rohan, good question. How we can trace the Bitcoin address? We so see if the people is using Tor or the Tor browser, so we cannot get any logs from there. So we cannot trace if the people is using Tor browser for the Bitcoin. We cannot trace those accounts as because in Tor there is no logs is there. Any other questions? Please, you may.
Yeah, this is Nirmal.
Yes, Mrinmoy. Yes, Mrinmoy.
Yeah, like this boot camp, can you also discuss some practical things?
Yes, that will be on fourth day session. Mrinmoy.
Okay.
That will be the fourth day session. How to retrieve the data from an pen drive. Okay.
Okay, and all those tools, can you
Yes,
also
yes. No,
know
all
that
those
how
not.
to
It is
use
not
all those
possible to cope
tools?
up all tools in 2 hours. The all tools are very big in nature. They are very different from different parts. But I will cope up some of the few tools in digital forensic. Obviously. How can you
Okay,
solve
thank
ransomware
you.
cases? So no, man, we cannot solve any cases of ransomware cases as because if your systems is compromised with ransomware, you just have to dump it on your garbage. That's why ransomware cannot be detected by the digital forensic investigators. Who is a prerequisite to join the digital forensic? Can I track IP through this? We can help us. Okay, yeah, because sir. Yes, yes, because sir, we can track the IP. Yes, yes. There's some of few of the tools we can track the IPs. Yes. Any other questions, people?
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
So there's a technique like packet sniffing.
Packet sniffing, Washak, we are using that for.
Packet sniffing. Can we whether we will be discussing regarding packet sniffing in the because this thing also comes under digital forensics.
Yes, packet sniffing. See, I again telling you that it is a 2 hours only. It is a 2 hour sessions. It is not possible for me to cope up every tool which are using in digital forensic. But for you, I will go for Washak for the packet sniffing. Okay.
Fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you very
Welcome.
much.
Any others questions? Is this bootcamp is interesting or just boring?
I'm audible?
Yes,
Yes,
because
Mr. Vikas.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a very good camp and the shared work you can be work that we are getting in this good camp.
Sir, you are not audible to me, sir.
Apart from website, can you help me out with other tools which can help to track the IP?
Tool to tracking the IP.
Yeah, apart from website.
Yes, yes, there are different types of tool for tracking the IPs. See, Shodan is there. You can use Shodan for tracking the IPs. Okay, it's a very good tool. It is used as an extension of the Firefox or the Chrome browser. From Shodan, you can track the IPs, and there are also the geolocations. Everything you can track from Shodan. So.
Complexity.
Okay, Rohan, I have a question that we can recover the physical damage HDD using these tools. Yes, obviously you can recover those physical damage HDDs by using those tools, but you need a proper lab environment and proper lab setup. there is a you need a clean room, everything. So here we do not have any clean room to recover any physical damage HDDs. After the using those tool, you can recover the physical damage. You can retrieve the data from physical damage HDDs. Okay, Patrick, I think enough for today. We will meet our second day. It is day two of the bootcamp session. Uh,
Yes, it has been a wonderful session, Mr. Piyush. Thank you for your time, and thank you, students. We have we are really pleased to have you in the first day of the session. I hope you really enjoyed it. You will get a live recording sessions if you need it. You have just have to follow us on indiancybersecurity.solutions.com, and on our YouTube page. Please subscribe to the channel so that you receive our videos regularly. We have a backup already set up for the recorded session, so you don't have to think so much. And if you have any questions right now to ask about digital forensic on today's topic, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. We continue this session tomorrow at same time, 12 p.m. I hope all of you will be safe. Take care and thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.